Hello, how's it going out there? I'm Kelsey, you're in my kitchen, and before I say anything else, I want to make sure you can hear me, so let's make sure the sound is working. I know you can see me, but can you hear me? All right, how's it going? Can you guys hear me? Good? Give me some love if you can hear me. Is it working? Good? Alright, I think everything is working, so we're going to go ahead and jump on in. Hi, I'm Kelsey. I am a nutritional therapist. I'm also a paleo chef and baker. Yay, love! Thank you guys. Hey, everybody. Yes, I'm a nutritional therapist. I'm a paleo chef and baker, and I'm the author of the new cookbook, Paleo Sweets. And today I'm going to talk to you about a really relevant topic, especially as it pertains to making healthy desserts. And that is healthy sugar substitutes. Now, we all know that sugar is so bad for our health. There are so many studies coming out now that are even linking high levels of inflammation and heart disease to sugar and not fat. So refined sugar is bad, and it's everywhere. It's especially there when we want to reach for a sweet treat or indulge a craving. And what I want to talk to you about today is just giving you some education, some insight on things that you can choose that are alternatives, that are healthier for you than refined sugar, that are going to still satisfy that craving and allow you to enjoy all of the delicious, sweet paleo treats that you could dream of, but without damaging your health. So we have 6 of my top personal favorite sugar substitutes, and I have a really great trick that I want to show those of you who want to cut sugar out completely. Maybe you're experiencing hypoglycemia or diabetes, so I have a great trick I want to show you guys at the end. But we'll go ahead and get started, and we'll jump in with my top 2 favorites, usually for baking or any other endeavor, and that would be, first of all, honey. So you can see I buy honey by the jug because honey is a food that never goes bad. If you've seen a jar of honey like that you've had back in the corner of your cabinet for years and it's kind of crystally and weird looking on the side, that's still good. What's happened is the moisture has just evaporated from the honey and you're left with honey crystals. And that can actually be really fun to munch on, get a little sweet crunch when you're eating it, or you can use it to exfoliate your face. Honey is naturally antimicrobial, so it's really great to enjoy raw as well. And we have a couple of different options with honey. You can see, I'm going to go ahead and pour this for you guys. I'll pour it into this one. You can see this is runny honey. You can tell it's just running right in there. And this is how you'll find a lot of forms of honey, and it can be raw, it could be pasteurized. It doesn't change whether the honey is runny, and it doesn't really change the nutritional content too much. Raw honey is typically preferable because it contains a lot of good enzymes, so I'll encourage you to go for that. But the other type of honey, so this is nice and runny, you can see it swirling around in there. The other type of honey you might see is what they call set honey. Sometimes you'll see it referred to as creamed honey, and this one doesn't pour. It's pretty solid. I see it's like starting to try to move toward the edge of the jar, but I'll give you a nice big scoop of that and show it to you. So this honey is really fun. It'll be a little bit thicker if you're trying to use it for cooking and in dessert recipes. Look at that. It's just super thick. It's not really going anywhere. It can give you a little bit of a firmer texture, not as liquidy when you're cooking with it. But it's interesting to note that these 2 honeys are pretty much nutritionally the same. The set honey and the runny honey, the only difference is they're from different flowers and they contain different amounts of glucose. Honey that is set and thicker is going to contain a little bit more glucose, and honey that is runny honey is going to have a little bit more fructose. So that's the only thing that's really different between the 2. Neither one of them ever goes bad, so if you are looking for a sweetener that you're going to use occasionally, you can keep it in the cupboard, shelf stable, doesn't have to be in the fridge, and it will never go bad. So moving on to my next favorite sugar substitute that is a liquid, we have maple syrup. So I think it's really important, look at that, it's beautiful. Glug, glug, glug. So maple syrup is pretty thin. It's not as thick as honey. Even the runny honey is a little bit thicker than maple syrup. Maple syrup is the sap from the maple tree that has been heat treated to reduce it a little bit. So it's a little bit thicker than it would be when it comes out of the tree. And I want to make a really important distinction that we're talking about pure maple syrup that is the sap from the tree and not pancake syrup. Pancake syrup is just high fructose corn syrup and food coloring, and it has nowhere near any variation of health benefit. So let's just stick that, give it back to your aunt, whoever it was who gave it to you, your aunt's favorite pancake syrup. But make sure you're choosing either grade A or grade B maple syrup. Grade A is going to have a little bit lighter color and a little bit lighter flavor. Grade B is going to be a little bit darker and give a more distinct maple flavor. But I kind of recommend grade B if you like the maple flavor because it's going to have more nutrients. Grade B is taken from a later tapping of the tree, so the sap has had more time to sit in the tree, collect all the nutrients from the plant, and then you get delivered all those great benefits. So you can choose grade A if you want a little bit lighter flavor, or if it's what's available, it's still great. Maple syrup in general actually tends to have a little bit less sugar per tablespoon than honey, so I'm starting to prefer it even in dessert making and chocolate making and even just in my tea in the mornings. So those are two really great examples of natural liquid sweeteners that are really high in enzymes and minerals from the plants they come from. All right, so moving right along, we're going to check out some dry sweeteners, and this one, oh, is the sweetheart, the apple of my eye. It is coconut sugar. So I'll come around and show you guys what this looks like. Coconut sugar looks a lot like brown sugar, and it actually has a very similar flavor. It's a little bit caramelly. So coconut sugar is going to be the sap from the coconut palm, and again, similarly to maple syrup, it's a sap that has had heat applied to it, but this time, let's see, the coconut sugar has all of the moisture removed, so all you're left with are these beautiful golden granules. Coconut sugar is one of my favorite choices because you can substitute it cup for cup for regular refined sugar in any of your recipes, so it translates really easily if you want to remake one of your favorite family recipes, or your mom, your grandma's recipe that's been handed down to you. This is a really quick and easy substitute to throw in place of refined sugar. Not only is it better because it's not refined, but what that means is you're going to be getting a lot of minerals. So in particular, coconut sugar contains iron, zinc, calcium, and potassium. Not to mention, it has a type of fiber in it. Again, because it's from a plant, we're going to be getting a lot of these great plant benefits that haven't been refined out. So inulin is in coconut sugar. It's actually what they call a prebiotic fiber, really beneficial to your gut bacteria. So when you eat it, it's actually going to nourish your gut lining and provide a lot of health benefit. And not only that, but it slows down the absorption of the sugar into your system. So you stay more even keel, more even energy, and it tends to have a lower glycemic index than a lot of other sweeteners, including refined sugar. So coconut sugar has a special place in my heart, but it's not the only dry sweetener you can use. So the next one I want to show you guys is date sugar. So I'll get up close and personal with you guys. So you can see date sugar actually looks a lot like coconut sugar. It is a lighter brown color. It's a little bit softer, the granules are, and it smells like dates, believe it or not. And that is because date sugar is actually just ground up dried dates. You'll see in a lot of raw food recipes, and even in a couple of the recipes in the Paleo Sweets cookbook, we use dates as a base for a couple of the cheesecake crusts. And it's great because dates, again, naturally sweet, you're getting all of the fiber, you're getting all of the vitamins and minerals from the fruit. But when you dry the dates and grind them up, again, you can use them as a replacement, cup for cup, in any of your baking recipes. Because you don't always have a recipe that you can adjust to use like a shmushy dried date and just mash it up and soak it or whatever. Sometimes you just want to be able to scoop, pop it in, and move right along. So I think it's really cool that date sugar is just ground up dates. I made some muffins using this yesterday, and they were great. And I will say that if you are choosing to use date sugar, I would recommend using it in more fruit-based recipes because it does have that slight datey flavor. So you'll taste a little bit of that in there. But again, a nice natural sweetness containing fiber. It's going to slow the sugar getting into your system. So a really healthy option for dried sweeteners. All right. So what I want to move on to now are a couple of sugar substitutes that are totally 0 calorie, 0 glucose, 0 glycemic index. They don't have an impact on your blood sugar. And the first one that a lot of you might have heard of or be more familiar with is stevia. So I have some pure stevia powder here, and it's just really light and powdery. And stevia is an extract that's actually derived from a plant. I know the plant grows at least in Central America because when I was on vacation there one time, I had the amazing opportunity to eat a leaf from a stevia plant. The leaves are little, like if you can imagine one of the little pieces of a clover leaf, like just a little bloop, growing on a small bush. You can just take the leaf right off the plant and eat it, and it's naturally sweet. So what happens is they dry the leaves, they grind them up, and sometimes they get rid of some of the coloring, so that's what's happened here. This is more of a pure stevia extract and not just the ground up leaves, which is fine. It's had nothing added to it, so it's just pure sweetness. So I want to get up close. I keep coming back and forth with you guys. I hope that's okay. So I want to show you guys this little scooper is a serving of this stevia. That's how concentrated the sweetness is. So it's about 45 milligrams is one serving of stevia, and that's because this doesn't have anything added to it. It's just the pure stevia extract. So if you want to use stevia in your recipes, just know that it's a more concentrated sweetness. You won't be able to switch it out cup for cup. But I think it's a great alternative because, again, it doesn't have any carbohydrate, no carbohydrate content. There are a couple of brands of stevia that add in things to kind of cut the sweetness. And there's one brand that I'm actually kind of okay with you guys using, or at least I'm okay with recommending to you guys to use. You use whatever you want. But it's called Sweet Leaf Stevia. And I can recommend that even though it's cut with another ingredient, because the other ingredient that they add is inulin, and that's the good fiber that we were talking about that's in coconut sugar. It's a prebiotic fiber, good for nourishing gut health, and also helps slow down the digestion of any other carbohydrates that you might have consumed at the same time as consuming the stevia. So sometimes it's convenient. I love to keep just little stevia packets in my purse for when I go out, going out for coffee, going out for tea. It's nice to have those available whenever you want them if you need to sweeten things up a little bit. So stevia is a really great and popular alternative to any of the glucose or sugar-containing substitutes. And another one that you might not be as familiar with, it's just gaining popularity and kind of just coming to markets in the United States at least, is monk fruit. So monk fruit is just like stevia. It's like a little kind of a brownish powder. And again, this is pure monk fruit extract. So very, very concentrated sweetness. It just comes from a different plant, but again, naturally sweet, no glycemic impact, no carbohydrate. It's a really great option, especially, again, if you're diabetic or hypoglycemic and you're trying to balance your blood sugar levels. Monk fruit is another great extract, and I've been kind of experimenting with it. I like to make, and I like to reduce the amount of sugar in my life, and when I do choose to eat sweets, I eat delicious paleo sweets that all contain healthy natural ingredients. But for most of the part during the day, I like to get my sugar from fruits, and again, I like to be conscious of and choose when I consume carbohydrate. So monk fruit is really yummy, also super concentrated. A little bit is going to go a long way, but I think it's really great. This particular brand is called Pure Monk, and I like it. You can order it online. You can find any of these sweeteners online or at your health food store, your local health food store. I love Amazon as a great resource for finding a lot of these, especially something if you want to try date sugar. You've never heard of it before, you've never seen it, go to Amazon, search for date sugar, buy a pound. Again, it's not really going to go bad. You can keep it in your cabinet and just give it a try when you want to. So these are my top 6 favorite sugar substitutes, and I'll tell you this after experimenting for years and years with trying to figure out how to make the best healthy desserts that taste good too. These are the results. The results are in, these are them. So we have honey, we have maple syrup, coconut sugar, date sugar, and then stevia or monk fruit. So what I want to do now is give you guys a really great tip for those of you who are diabetic or trying to cut sugar out, or like me, you just want to control when and how you consume sugar. The trick that I like to use is when I'm replacing honey or maple syrup in a recipe, I use applesauce and stevia. So I don't have an exact recipe for this, but what you'll do is you'll take any recipe that contains honey or maple syrup as a sweetener, and we're talking about baked goods here. So if you're making chocolate, this isn't going to work the same way, but that's okay. We'll get to that in a later conversation. But if you want to take, for example, a lot of the cake recipes, like the carrot cake recipe right here on Paleo Sweets is one of my favorites, and I know so many people love carrot cake. And the ingredients call for 2/3 of a cup of honey. So what I would recommend you do is take 2/3 of a cup applesauce and then add sweetener like stevia and a sugar substitute or monk fruit. I would start out by adding about 1/4 teaspoon and mixing it into the applesauce and then adjusting to taste. You'll want to make the applesauce taste just a little bit sweeter than you want the final cake to taste, because the flavors are going to kind of disperse and dissipate and spread out, so it won't be as concentrated when you take a bite of that delicious cake. But this is a really great way, especially when I was doing, a cleanse. I was doing a very low-carb candida diet for a while, and applesauce plus stevia was my savior for making diabetic-friendly desserts so I could still enjoy the little comforts in life, And that's one of my favorite things about having created this book, Paleo Sweets, for you guys, is that I want to show you that it is possible to still enjoy delicious treats and nourish your body at the same time. You don't have to compromise, you don't have to sacrifice, you can still get all the yummy goodness that you want. So that's it for today. I'm really excited I got to share this with you guys, especially this trick with the applesauce and the stevia. I think that's really important for everyone to be aware of. Again, there are so many alternatives and ways that you can choose to eat healthy and create healthy desserts while still getting a lot of good vitamins and minerals and keeping your blood sugar balanced. So I just want to come a little closer again, say hi, and I want to know if you guys have any quick questions for me. I do have a few minutes and I'm here, and I would love to share more information with you if you want it. Let's see, I see Jackie. Hi Jackie, thanks for joining. Jackie loves stevia, and stevia is great. Another thing I forgot to mention, I have it here in powdered form. It also comes in liquid form, so you can buy it and it comes in like a little bottle with a dropper on the top, and you can get that, and that makes it really easy to add to coffee or tea when you're at home. I personally don't carry bottles around of it around in my purse just because they might spill, but that's a really great choice if you don't have the packets or can't find them and you prefer a liquid alternative. So thank you so much for everyone who's watching, and let me know, do you have any questions? Let's see, Ann Peterson, great question. Are there not good and bad stevia, meaning pure versus others? So Ann, that's a really good question, and at the end of the day it can be a little bit of a gray area because it comes down to what your priority is as far as health benefit. If you're at the store and the only stevia option you have is cut with erythritol or dextrose, but you're diabetic, then I would still recommend you choose the stevia in that instance. But if you have a choice and you can find either a pure stevia or a stevia that's cut with inulin, I would recommend those as being your first options just because they are in the end going to be the most beneficial. Another thing to consider, like I said, stevia is a really concentrated sweetener, so when you're using it, you're only using a very small amount. So if you just use a very small amount that has an additive in it and you're only using it for a short period of time until you can get back to a healthier stevia option, then I would say go for it. So I hope that answered your question in some way. Choose stevia over refined sugar, and if you have another option to choose a pure stevia or one that's cut with inulin, choose that instead. Cool. All right, let's see. Sally Jones. Oh, I just missed your question. Oh no. Thank you. Is that Nesselan? Great question. How about agave? Thank you so much for asking that. I really meant to address that. So agave was really touted for a long time as a great healthy sweetener, and it turns out it's not that great. It goes through a really heavy refining process that's very similar to high fructose corn syrup, and the end product that you're left with is very stripped bare of any minerals or any nutrients that it could have contained at one time. So I would much rather you choose honey or maple syrup over agave. I think it's a bummer because it seemed like such a great choice, especially, coming from a different plant. I think it's interesting that all plants provide us with different variations of phytonutrients and minerals and that sort of thing, but I would say skip the agave, really highly processed, actually really high in sugar, and can have a negative effect on your blood sugar. So skip the agave, go for the honey and the maple syrup instead. All right, awesome. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. Again, you can find so many great recipe ideas for how to use healthy sweeteners in Paleo Sweets. Yes, my pleasure. So Paleo Sweets cookbook, I'm going to include the link below. The cookbook is free. All you have to do is pay shipping. So it's a really nominal fee for all of these delicious recipes. Let's look at it together. So many good. Again, carrot cake. I was so surprised. Carrot cake is not necessarily one of my favorites, but so many people, when I started posting pictures on Facebook about what I was making, wanted the carrot cake recipe. So there you go. You can get yours for free. Just pay shipping. Oh, there we go. The sexy black forest cake. This one I believe is made with maple syrup. Maple syrup pairs really well with chocolate, so I use that one in there. Let's see. Karen, yeah, just to clarify, even raw agave, I don't know how they would extract agave in a truly raw fashion because it tends to need heat to be extracted or processed from what I understand. And it's important to point out there actually is no legal definition for the word raw, so you can buy something that's labeled raw and you don't know how it's been processed. So I think that's it's interesting, and I would say just stay away from it. Choose honey and choose maple syrup if you can get it. Let's see. Sean, what about evaporated cane juice? Evaporated cane juice has still gone through a heavier refining process, just the boiling down of the cane. You know, I don't know a lot about how it's processed, but I do know it has a greater impact on your blood sugar levels, and part of my goal is to help you guys consume foods that have a much lower impact on blood sugar levels. So that's why I recommend these mostly unprocessed, unrefined sweeteners, and I tend to stay away. Also, a lot of, let's see, like evaporated cane juice and a lot of sugars are derived from beets and plants. They just have to go through a little bit more processing than they tell us about. So I leave them off the list, and I recommend these 6 as the ones you stick with. Right? Yes, stevia is great. Birch sugar, Bridget, that's interesting. You know, I'm not really familiar with birch sugar. I am familiar with xylitol, which is a sugar alcohol that can be derived from birch trees, but I'll have to look into birch sugar and let you guys know about that. That's interesting. See, like I said, there's so many different plants out there that can give us so many different nutrients, and you can kind of, in a way, get carbohydrate from anything, but that's why we have to double check what process did the plant have to go through to give us that carbohydrate or that sugar. Very important. Let's see. Ashley, brown coconut sugar. Interesting. I've never heard of brown coconut sugar. What about it? All I know is coconut sugar, and I am super on point. Love coconut sugar. It's one of my favorites. We talked about the great minerals you can get from it. You get zinc, potassium, iron, calcium, and inulin, good prebiotic fibers. So A+, 2 thumbs up, and 1 cookbook up for coconut sugar. Let's see, Matan, how about sweet potato for muffins and cupcakes? Yes, sweet potato is great. So if you're using mashed sweet potato, that's a great thing to enhance with a little bit of stevia or monk fruit extract because it's going to boost the sweetness, but you get that like natural kind of baseline sweetness from the sweet potato. Again, lots of good fiber. Sweet potatoes contain a ton of vitamin A, which is really good for you. So yes, sweet potato is a great option to bake with. Let's see, Tamara, where to buy monk sugar and what brand? So let me grab this on my cabinet actually. I'll show you. Oh, where did it? Oh, it's over here. Bloop. So I like to use Pure Monk, and I just got this on Amazon. Again, you can find monk fruit extract, stevia, date sugar, coconut sugar, and high quality honeys and maple syrups either on Amazon. Thrive Market is another great resource. I know they ship within the United States. I'm not sure about their international shipping policies, but Amazon.com, yeah, Thrive, and then your local health food store, especially if it's a better equipped one, will definitely have a lot of great sugar alternatives for you. Let's see. Ooh, Jay! Man after my own heart. What sweeteners dissolve the best in iced tea? Well, this southern girl would like to tell you that that's a really great question, actually. So maple syrup is great. Honey is great. The liquid sweeteners do really well in liquid. Coconut sugar, if you want that real southern brown sugar taste, but with more minerals and vitamins, I definitely recommend coconut sugar for iced tea. Now, it is important for me to point out that the date sugar, because it's just ground dates, will not dissolve in liquids. But it's great for baking because it'll be suspended in whatever the baked, whatever you would call it, the matrix. The breading, the cake, whatever it is, the dates will be suspended in that. So perfect for baking, not great for for liquids and drinks. And I believe someone just asked, yeah, my pleasure. Someone just asked about how to get the book. So Paleo Sweets available, just the cost of shipping, and you can click the link below to grab your copy today. Let's see. Sunita, great question. Which is the best and worst natural sugar to use? So I think we just covered the worst. We always want to stay away from agave. I also stay away generally from any sort of cane juice or refined cane sugar, beet sugar, anything like that. We're going to skip that. But what I do recommend are honey, maple syrup. We have coconut sugar, date sugar, and stevia or monk fruit. Those are my top 6 picks because they seem to be the most nutrient dense. They undergo very little processing and they taste so good. All right, great. Thank you guys so much. I'm so excited that you joined me today. I hope you get a lot out of this information. If you want to grab your free copy of Paleo Sweets, click the link below. So I'll post the link just underneath this video in a second, and all you have to do is pay shipping and you'll get your free copy mailed straight to your door. We do ship around the world. It might take a little bit longer to get to certain countries rather than others, but if you're in touch with our customer support team, they can help you track your order and make sure your book is coming right to you. All right, well, this has been great. Veronica, hey, so I answered some great questions about alternatives for diabetic-friendly sweeteners a little bit earlier in the video, talking about using stevia, monk fruit extract, and adding those to applesauce to use in place of honey or maple syrup in some baked recipes. So I'll leave you guys with that. If you want to keep posting questions, I will answer anything that you have to the best of my ability in the comments below. We will put the link up ASAP as soon as I get offline, I promise. I am so glad you guys made it today. Thank you for all of your wonderful questions. All right, I'll answer one more, just one more. Deb wanted to know if I recommend erythritol. I personally, if you're going to choose a sugar alcohol, would recommend erythritol over the xylitol or sorbitol because the other tols tend to be a little bit harsher on your digestive tract, and erythritol tends to not have that effect. So if you are a diabetic looking for a diabetic-friendly dry sweetener, there's one brand that I recommend. I don't have a lot of experience with it, but the ingredients are decent. So that is Swerve brand that is erythritol based. But it also is kind of up to you. You'll have to taste it and try it and make sure it doesn't leave you feeling bloated. If that's the case, then we'll stay on the hunt and I'll get back to you guys as soon as possible with some great, more diabetic-friendly recipes and more diabetic-friendly natural sweeteners. All right, but for now, have a great rest of your day. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.